Hey there, welcome. Tonight, we're diving into something so gentle, so harmlessly unfunny, so beautifully boring, it might just be the perfect lullaby for your restless brain. Yes, we're talking about dad jokes. These aren't the kind of jokes that make you laugh out loud. Oh no, these are the slow burn groaners, the eyebrow-raising puns, the kind of jokes that make you question everything and then fall gently into a coma of pure, peaceful sleep. In fact, if you're still awake by the end of this video, you might want to check your wiring, because only a robot could survive this level of supreme corniness without at least dozing off once. But before we begin this journey through the land of snoring and snickering, go ahead and hit the like button if you're here for sleep, dad jokes, or some strange combination of the two. And feel free to subscribe, only if you're genuinely enjoying these bedtime groanfests. Drop a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. I always love seeing who's out there slowly succumbing to the power of the pun. Now, dim your lights, fluff your pillow, maybe switch on a soft fan for that perfect background hum, because tonight we're going to let the soothing dullness of dad jokes lull you into a blissful, yawn-filled sleep. Let the cringeworthy calm begin. 1. The Lawnmower Philosopher. So, there was this dad who loved mowing the lawn, not because the grass really needed it, but because he believed that mowing was the highest form of meditation. He'd put on his grass-stained sneakers, adjust his socks with the seriousness of a samurai, and walk out into the yard like a man on a mission. As he pushed the mower, he'd ponder life's greatest questions. Like, if a tomato is technically a fruit, does that mean ketchup is a smoothie? Or, if no one's around to hear a tree fall, but the neighbor still complains about the noise, did it even happen? One day, his son asked, "Dad, why do you mow the lawn every single day?" The dad nodded sagely and replied, "Because the grass keeps growing." The son blinked, paused, and said, "That's just what grass does." And the dad smiled, pointed at the sky, and whispered, "Exactly." Then he went back to mowing. That's when the boy realized that true dad wisdom isn't about answers. It's about making everything just a little more confusing than it needs to be. 2. The Great Sock Debate of '09. Let me tell you about the infamous sock debate of 2009. It started when a dad, let's call him Carl, discovered a hole in his favorite sock. Not just any sock, this was the sacred left sock of his lucky pair. Rather than throw it away like a normal person, Carl held a family meeting. He presented the sock like it was a national relic. "This sock," he declared, "has been with me through thick and thin." Job interviews, lazy Sundays, one unfortunate roller skating incident. His daughter asked, "Can't you just buy a new pair?" Carl shook his head. "You don't replace greatness, you repair it." And so he spent 2 hours sewing a patch over the hole using dental floss and sheer determination. When asked why dental floss, he replied, "Because it's minty fresh, and my feet deserve that kind of luxury." Eventually, the sock disintegrated in the wash, and Carl held a backyard memorial service. There were tears, there were speeches, there was even a slideshow. And the moral of the story? Dads don't throw things away. They give them the dignity of a dramatic farewell. 3. The Misunderstood Thermostat. In a quiet suburban home, there lived a dad who believed the thermostat was the most sacred object in the house. "Don't touch the thermostat," he would say, even if it was 103 degrees outside or cold enough to freeze your thoughts. To him, the thermostat wasn't just a tool, it was a fragile balance of economics, comfort, and paternal power. One afternoon, his teenage son dared to bump it up from 68 to 70. 2 degrees. Just 2. Within seconds, the dad appeared out of nowhere like a thermostat guardian summoned by heat. "Who touched it?" he whispered, his voice calm but intense. No one answered. He inspected the buttons like a detective at a crime scene. 2 degrees. Do you know what that does to the electric bill? The kid shrugged. It makes the house warm? The dad nodded slowly. And the wallet cold. Then he reset it to 68. The family never touched it again, because some battles aren't worth fighting, especially when Dad has the thermostat manual laminated in a binder labeled Winter Protocols. 4. The epic tale of the leftover chili one. Thursday evening, a dad named Frank made chili. Not just a small pot, but a vat. Enough chili to feed a small village, or at least the entire PTA. When asked why so much, he replied, "Because chili gets better every day. By day 5, it's practically gourmet." And thus began the Chili Chronicles. Day 1, excitement. Everyone agreed it was pretty good. Day 2, reheated and served over rice. Still solid. Day 3, chili burritos. A creative pivot. Day 4, chili surprise. No one knew what the surprise was, and no one asked. By day 5, the family begged for mercy. "Can we please have something else?" they cried. Frank looked wounded. "You don't just abandon chili, it's aging like fine wine." Day 6. He tried turning it into chili lasagna. Even the dog looked unsure. By day 7, the chili was beginning to look back at them, but Frank held out hope. It's not just food, it's a journey. Eventually, the chili was sealed in a Tupperware container, placed in the back of the freezer, and never spoken of again. Legend has it, it's still there, evolving. 5. The case of the mysterious remote. There once was a dad who took great pride in his remote control system. He had 7 remotes, each carefully labeled in Sharpie: TV, cable, sound, DVD, weird box, other box, and nobody knows. When guests came over, they were given a 5-minute presentation on how to properly operate the entertainment command center. One evening, the remote labeled TV went missing. Chaos ensued. Dad turned over couch cushions with the precision of an archaeologist. He checked the fridge, the mailbox, and even the dog's bed. "It has to be somewhere," he muttered, as if the remote was an endangered species he'd sworn to protect. Eventually, it was found, in the freezer next to the leftover chili. No one confessed. No one even knew how it got there. But instead of being mad, the dad simply nodded. "She wanted some peace and quiet," he said, referring to the remote like it had free will. After that, he kept the remotes in a locked drawer labeled Top Secret. And anytime someone asked which one turned on the TV, he'd say, "All of them in the correct order, like the ancient ritual demands." 6. The elevator joke that went nowhere. So I was in an elevator the other day, and I said to the guy next to me, "This elevator business has its ups and downs." He didn't laugh. I didn't either. It just kind of hung there, like the elevator itself. I kept going because I'm committed like that. I added, "But at least it's a step up from the stairs." Still nothing, so I said, "I used to hate elevators, but I've started taking them to another level." At this point, the doors still hadn't opened, and the silence between us was louder than the elevator music. When I got out, I nodded and said, "Hope you get where you're going," emotionally, too. And I realized sometimes a dad joke isn't about laughter. It's about quiet, pun-laced endurance. Much like elevators, sometimes you're just stuck in one until it ends. 7. The clock that was always ticking. People always ask me if I have a favorite kind of timepiece, and I do. It's a broken clock, because it's still right twice a day, and honestly, that's better odds than most of us have. I once told my kid this and followed it up with, "I tried to write a book on time, but I never found the time." Then I asked, "Did you hear about the man who stole a clock? He got time. Not jail time, just time." Now I don't know why clocks are so funny to me. Maybe it's because every time I make one of these jokes, someone looks at their watch and wishes the conversation was over. But I say, if time is money and I spend mine making terrible puns, then I must be very rich in disappointment. Tick-tock. Still here? 8. The sandwich with too much confidence. Did you hear about the sandwich that walked into a bar? Yeah, the bartender said, "Sorry, we don't serve food here." Classic. But here's the thing, that sandwich wasn't just any sandwich. It had mustard and confidence, which is basically the same thing. I told my daughter this and she said, "Dad, sandwiches can't walk." And I said, "That's what they want you to think." Because let's be honest, if any food were going to develop legs and start going places, it'd be a sandwich, portable, versatile, emotionally stable. But I digress. I once asked my wife if she wanted to hear a joke about a club sandwich, and she said, "Only if it has layers." It did, 3 of them. That's what makes it a club. Anyway, I think sandwiches are underappreciated, much like this joke, which fortunately has finally come to an end. 9. The light bulb of reluctant change. How many dads does it take to change a light bulb? Just one. But he'll tell the story of that light bulb for the rest of his life. Back in '97, that bulb lasted 10 years. 10 years. And when he finally replaces it, he stands back, arms crossed, nodding with satisfaction like he just rewired the Pentagon. Then he'll say something like, "They don't make them like they used to," which he also says about literally everything from toasters to pop music. Honestly, I replaced a bulb last week and told my son, "It was illuminating." He walked away. I followed up with, "That joke was light on substance." Still nothing. So I said, "Guess I wasn't too bright." Look, sometimes the point of the joke isn't to make someone laugh. It's to make the room just awkward enough that the conversation ends, so we can go back to whatever we were doing before, like changing that other bulb that's been flickering since Christmas. The cactus conundrum. I asked my wife if we could get a pet cactus. She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I want something that thrives on neglect." She didn't laugh. I explained, "See, it's low maintenance. It doesn't shed. It doesn't bark. It doesn't judge you when you forget to water it for 3 weeks. It's basically the plant version of a dad joke. It just sits there, a little prickly, and somehow still alive." I named it Spike. Spike is great company. He never interrupts, never complains, and always looks mildly surprised. One day I told Spike a joke. What did the cactus say to the balloon? "I'm afraid this won't end well." Still no response, which is fair because he's a cactus. But still, he gets me. Some people have therapy dogs. I have a judgmental desert plant, and in many ways, we all have a little cactus in us. Quiet, weird, and kind of hard to hug. 11. The printer that couldn't commit. I told my printer a joke once. It paused, made some noise, and then printed out a blank sheet of paper. I guess it wasn't impressed, but printers are like that. They always seem busy, but never quite deliver until you least expect it. Mine always says it's out of ink, even when I just replaced the cartridge. It's like having a passive-aggressive roommate who sighs loudly every time you ask it to do something. Low toner, it says, like it's emotionally drained. I get it, buddy. We all are. One time I said, "Why don't we ever hear about printers in movies?" And then I answered myself, because their character development never prints out. Nobody laughed, except maybe the fax machine, but he's always laughing at paper jams. Sometimes I wonder if printers are just misunderstood introverts, quiet, selective, and constantly buffering. And really, who among us isn't a little jammed up from time to time? 12. The Vegetable Popularity Contest. Did you know vegetables have feelings? Not real ones, obviously, but I like to think they have some sort of social hierarchy in the fridge. Broccoli's the overachiever, always bragging about how healthy it is. Steamed me again? Wow, I'm flattered. Meanwhile, lettuce just sits in the crisper, slowly becoming soup. Carrots try to be cool, but they're always chopped up before they can make a point. And celery? Celery's just loud. It wants attention, but has nothing to say. My daughter once asked me which vegetable is the most confident, and I said, corn, because it has ears and still doesn't listen. She left the kitchen immediately. But the potato? Now that's the introvert of the veggie world. Always calm, always chill, comfortable in every situation, fried, baked, mashed, or left alone for weeks in the pantry. Potatoes don't judge. Potatoes just are. If I were a vegetable, I'd be a potato. Simple, starchy, and always getting roasted. Just like my sense of humor. 13. The mismatched sock. Crisis. There comes a point in every man's life when he must face the great mystery of the laundry world. Where do socks go? I put 2 socks in, clearly a matched pair, clearly in love, and only one returns. Sometimes a total stranger comes back, a striped imposter, a rebel with no partner. I don't throw it away, of course. I put it in the sock orphanage, the little basket of mismatched hopes and dreams, thinking maybe one day its soulmate will return from the unknown. But weeks pass, and nothing. It's like the Bermuda Triangle of cotton footwear. I told my son, I think our dryer is part magician, part thief. He asked, why not just buy more socks? And I said, then the cycle continues. More socks, more heartbreak. The worst part is when you wear mismatched ones and think no one will notice, until they do. Nice socks, Dad, they smirk, and I nod. Because I'm not wearing socks, I'm wearing stories, and some of them just happen to be polka-dotted. 14. The banana that waited too long. Bananas are the most dramatic fruit in the produce section. 1 minute, they're green and firm and full of promise. You blink and they're spotted, slouching in the fruit bowl like they've seen things. I once tried to keep up with a bunch. Ate one the first day, felt proud. Day 2, still good. Day 3, they turned on me. Suddenly they were mushy, overly confident, and reeking of ambition. Make banana bread, they demanded. Freeze us for smoothies. So now I've got 10 frozen bananas in the back of the freezer next to that mysterious chili container. I told my wife, don't worry, I have plans. She said, like what? I said, like waiting until they're so old they become sentient. Bananas don't go quietly. They age loudly with fruit flies and guilt, but I respect that. They know their time is short, and they make sure you feel it. And if you ignore them long enough, they become compost, which is basically fruit's version of spiritual rebirth. Poetic in a sad, slightly moldy way. 15. The overachieving light switch. Every house has that one light switch that does absolutely nothing. You flip it up, nothing. Flip it down, still nothing. You test it again just in case. You ask your family, hey, what does this switch do? And they say, we've been wondering that for years. It becomes part of the mystery of the home. You start assigning it imaginary duties. This switch controls the neighbor's garage door. Or every time I flick this, a duck quacks somewhere in Iowa. I once labeled it "Do Not Touch" just to see if anyone would. Someone did, and we lost power for an hour. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe the switch got tired of being ignored and finally spoke up. I like to think it's a switch with ambitions. A dreamer, really. It wants to matter. But it was wired wrong and now lives a quiet life of retirement behind the couch. And in a way, aren't we all just trying to find the thing we're supposed to light up, even if we never quite figure it out? 16. The overly literal GPS. My car's GPS has one job, give directions, but I swear it's developing a personality. I once missed a turn and it said, recalculating in the most disappointed tone I've ever heard from a machine, like I personally let it down. So I told my son, it's like having a passive-aggressive co-pilot. He said, it's just a GPS. But is it? Because every time I purposely take a different route, it waits, then whispers, make a U-turn when possible. U-turn, like it's a metaphor, for life, for bad decisions, for going in circles. And I always think, what if I just kept driving and never listened? Would it eventually give up? Or start philosophizing? You are now completely lost. Maybe one day it'll say emotionally or geographically. Either way, I think it's more than a GPS. I think it's a dad in digital disguise, always giving directions, rarely thanked, and somehow still proud of the journey, even when no one listens. 17. The door that squeaked with wisdom. There's this door in our house that squeaks every time it opens. We could oil it, sure, but then we wouldn't hear its emotional commentary. You open it slowly, creak, and it sounds like it's sighing. Not annoyed, just tired. Like a wise old man who's seen too much foot traffic. I told my wife, I think the door is trying to tell us something. She said, it's telling you to fix it. But I disagree. That door has character. A smooth door might open easier, but it doesn't share its thoughts. Ours does. It complains, yes, but also whispers. Not again, every time someone heads to the fridge after 10 p.m. It knows. It judges, but lovingly. I once greeted it with, "Good evening, Sir Squeak," and my daughter rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. But here's the thing, when you've lived somewhere long enough, even your doors develop personalities. And sometimes, when the world is quiet and the hallway is dark, the creak becomes a lullaby. A groaning, mildly haunted lullaby. 18. The pen that refused to write. There's nothing quite like grabbing a pen that looks full of ink, confident and ready, only to discover it's absolutely retired. You scribble on paper like an ancient artist decoding a forgotten language, and it gives you nothing, not a single line. But the pen doesn't care. It just lays there like, I've done my part, I'm done now. So I grabbed another pen, same thing, and another. I went through 5 before one finally offered up some ink like it was a reluctant poet. I told my daughter, "These pens are teaching me patience." She said, "They're teaching you to clean your drawer." Probably true, but I like to think each pen is on its own journey. Some were born to write grocery lists, others, great novels. Mine, mostly passive-aggressive notes like, "Please replace the toilet paper roll." Still, each pen has a story, even if it never tells it. Even if it just lies in that drawer of forgotten office supplies next to the mystery batteries and a ruler no one's used since 1998. 19. The remote control standoff. In every house, there is a remote control that no one wants to admit they lost. Ours went missing last week. Not truly lost, just hiding. We all pretended it wasn't a big deal. We used the TV buttons like pioneers. But deep down, the tension grew. Who misplaced it? Who used it last? I interrogated the couch cushions. They gave nothing up. Then I found it in the fridge. Why? No idea. Possibly the snack got the better of someone and the remote just joined the journey. I held it up like a trophy and announced, "Behold, the chosen one has returned." My son replied, "You're weird." I said, "No, I'm wired to this remote." And yes, I made that joke in front of the whole family. No one laughed, but the power of the pun remains. Because remote controls are the modern-day Excalibur. Only the worthy may find them. And when they do, peace is restored. Until the batteries die. Again. 20. The alarm clock that refused to be ignored. Alarm clocks are cruel optimists. Every night, I set mine with hope. Tomorrow, I'll get up early, stretch, drink water, do something productive. And every morning, it chirps like a relentless bird whose only purpose is to remind me I am not a morning person. I hit snooze, it comes back. I hit snooze again, it returns, like a boomerang made of guilt. I told my wife, "I think the alarm clock is mocking me." She said, "No, that's just your reflection in the phone screen." Fair? Still, I admire its persistence. It doesn't care that I stayed up watching documentaries about penguins or reorganizing a junk drawer at 2 a.m. It's just doing its job, loudly, incessantly. Sometimes I wonder if it's secretly proud of me when I finally wake up. Like it's saying, "You did it, champ. You beat the odds. Eventually." But most of the time, it's just a digital voice yelling, "Life starts now," while I negotiate with reality under a pile of blankets. 21. The coffee mug. That knew too much, I have this coffee mug that always feels like it's silently judging me. It's chipped on the rim and stained like it's seen some things, early mornings, late nights, and way too many half-hearted attempts at productivity. I told my daughter, "This mug has character," she said. "It looks like it has a caffeine addiction." True. One time I said, "This mug's like a wise old friend, always there when I need a pick-me-up." She asked, "Does it give advice?" I said, "Only in the form of coffee stains." Sometimes I wonder if the mug knows my secrets, like how many times I've hit snooze, or the fact that I'm pretending to work while actually daydreaming about naps. It's the perfect companion for those slow mornings when the world feels heavy and you just want to sip and stare out the window. So here's to the coffee mug, the quiet hero of mornings, the holder of both coffee and hope, and the only thing that never complains about being emptied too soon. 22. The blanket that hides. Secrets. Blankets are sneaky. You pull one over your shoulders and suddenly it's a fortress of solitude. But have you ever noticed how blankets seem to swallow your socks, your phone, maybe even your sanity? One minute you're warm, the next you're digging around like a miner searching for treasure or lost remotes. I told my son, blankets have secret lives. He rolled his eyes, but I'm convinced, because every night it traps part of you inside while the rest escapes to the cold. I sometimes think blankets are like introverts. They keep you cozy, but they also keep their own mysteries. And when you finally peel them off in the morning, you realize they've been holding on tighter than you ever thought. So here's to blankets, our warm, silent conspirators in the nightly battle against the chill and the ultimate hide-and-seek champions of lost things. 23. The microwave's reluctant role. Microwaves have this weird reputation for being fast, but really, they're just impatient cooks. You press the button, and it beeps at you like it's reminding you to pay attention. I swear mine judges how long I stare at it, waiting for the popcorn to stop popping. I told my daughter, "The microwave is the kitchen's timer and therapist." She said, "How so?" "Because every beep is like a gentle nudge. You're almost there. Maybe stop procrastinating." It's funny how something so simple has such a strong presence. When it goes off, it demands your immediate attention, no exceptions. It's the adult version of, "Are we there yet?" but for food. I respect it for that. It doesn't mess around. And yet, despite its urgency, sometimes I catch myself just watching the countdown, like a hypnotist's pendulum, waiting for the magic number 0 and the promise of warm snacks. Truly, the microwave is both hero and villain of modern hunger. 24. The fridge light's lonely vigil. The fridge light is like a silent sentinel, always there when you open the door, illuminating your midnight snack quests. But have you ever thought about how many times it flickers on just to see disappointment? Empty shelves, expired milk, or that mysterious container of leftovers you can't quite identify. I told my wife, "The fridge light must be the most hopeful bulb in the house." She laughed and said, "Or the most disappointed." Maybe both. It shines brightly, welcoming every visit, no matter how small or sad the reason. It never judges what you reach for, whether it's a salad or ice cream. It just lights the way. And at the end of the day or night, it goes off, waiting patiently for the next opening, ready to brighten even the dullest snack run. In a way, the fridge light is the unsung hero of late-night decisions and quiet moments of self-care. Always watching, always glowing, even when no one's looking. 25. The chair that supports secrets chairs are underrated. They hold us up when we're tired. They support us through endless hours of thinking, working, or scrolling. But chairs also have secrets. Think about it. Every chair in your home has borne witness to your most private moments. Deep conversations, awkward silences, spontaneous dance moves no one should see. I once joked, "My chair knows more about me than most people." Because it's true. It's the silent partner in all our daily dramas and triumphs. When you finally get up, it's ready to catch the next person without a word. No judgments, no questions. Just quiet, steady support. So next time you sit down, think about the chair beneath you, a humble hero holding the weight of your stories, your worries, and maybe a few embarrassing moments you hope never come up in conversation. 26. The clock that refused to hurry. Clocks are funny creatures. They tick-tock steadily, never rushing, never stopping, except when you desperately want them to move faster. I have a clock on my wall that seems to enjoy its job a little too much. It ticks with such enthusiasm, like it's proud to remind me time is slipping away, especially on Monday mornings. I once joked to my wife, "This clock is a master of slow torture." She said, "It's just doing its job." True, but what if clocks secretly judge us? When we say, "I don't have time," the clock just replies, "Well, you do now." And when it strikes noon, it's like it's announcing, "Half the day wasted, champ." Still, there's comfort in its consistency. No matter what, the clock is there, steady, predictable, and annoyingly punctual. It reminds us that no matter how fast or slow life feels, time is always moving forward, whether we like it or not. And sometimes that's enough to make you want to just sit down, take a breath, and let the ticking lull you into calm. 27. The sandwich that fell apart. There's nothing quite like making a sandwich with care, stacking each layer just right. Bread, lettuce, tomato, meat, cheese, only to have it collapse as soon as you pick it up. It's a tragic tale of ambition versus reality. I told my son, "Sandwiches are like relationships. Looks great until pressure's applied." He just laughed and said, "Or you just built it wrong." Maybe, but there's a lesson there. No matter how carefully you construct something, sometimes it falls apart. Sometimes the lettuce slides, the tomato slips, and the bread crumbles under pressure. And you're left holding a mess, wondering if you should just go for a salad instead. But the best sandwiches, the ones that don't fall apart, are the ones with a little patience, a little balance, and a lot of napkins. So next time your sandwich breaks, think of it as a reminder. Life's messy, but it's still delicious, and there's always a way to clean up the crumbs. 28. The elevator's reluctant journey. Elevators are strange little boxes. They carry you up and down, but they never talk about the floors they've seen. I once joked that the elevator is the quietest witness to awkward small talk and secret phone calls. You stand there, pressed between strangers, pretending not to notice the silence or the slow crawl of the floor numbers. I told my wife, elevators are like brief moments of shared loneliness. She laughed but nodded. Because it's true, everyone is trapped in their own thoughts, waiting to get somewhere else, even if it's just the third floor. And that little ding when the doors open? It's like a sigh of relief, the elevator's way of saying, "You made it." Then it closes, ready to start again, carrying new stories, new worries, and maybe a forgotten umbrella. Elevators don't rush, they just move steadily, carrying us all, one stop at a time. 29. The pillow that holds dreams. Pillows are more than just soft objects to rest your head on. They're tiny dream catchers. Each night, your pillow absorbs whispers of your hopes, fears, and late-night thoughts. Sometimes it feels like the pillow knows you better than anyone else. I told my son, "Your pillow is the keeper of your secrets." He shrugged, but it's true. Pillowcases get twisted, fluffed, and smooshed, yet they hold steady. They cradle your head while your mind wanders to far-off places, some pleasant, some perplexing. And when you wake up, the pillow's imprint is a gentle reminder that you've been somewhere else, even if only in your sleep. So next time you lay your head down, thank your pillow, because it's been quietly supporting your journey, catching your dreams and worries, and waiting patiently for you to return each night. 30. The wallet that's always empty. Wallets are like little portals of hope and disappointment. You open them expecting a treasure trove of cash, receipts, and maybe a lucky coin. But usually, it's just emptiness. I told my daughter, "My wallet is like a magician. It makes money disappear." She laughed and said, "Maybe it's hiding." Could be. Wallets hold the remnants of our spending habits, little pieces of paper that say, "Thank you for shopping," and business cards from places we forgot we visited. Sometimes, when I open mine, I'm reminded of how fast money comes and goes, and how much I'd rather it stay put. But the wallet never complains. It just waits patiently, ready to be filled again, or emptied once more. It's a quiet companion in the ebb and flow of life's finances, a reminder that sometimes it's not about what you have, but how you carry it. 31. The socks that disappear. Socks are the ultimate mystery in every household. You start with a perfect pair, but somehow, after a few washes, one always vanishes into thin air. I told my son, I think socks have secret meetings and decide who's staying and who's going missing. He laughed, but seriously, where do they go? Behind the dryer? Into a sock dimension? I once found a single sock under the couch that had been missing for months, like it was trying to send a message. Socks don't just disappear, they're rebels. They want to break free from the monotony of matching pairs and live a life of solitary freedom. And every time you lose one, you're reminded that even the smallest things can vanish when you're not paying attention. So next time you lose a sock, don't get mad. Think of it as your sock's way of seeking adventure. Just don't expect it to come back. 32. The light switch that won't cooperate. Light switches are simple, right? On and off, easy as pie. But some switches have an attitude problem. Ours seems to enjoy teasing us by flickering before it finally settles on the right setting. Sometimes you flip it and nothing happens, so you flip it again, like you're negotiating with a stubborn partner. I told my wife, our light switch is secretly a DJ, flicking the lights like beats at a party. She just rolled her eyes, but I'm serious. There's something oddly satisfying about finally getting the lights on after a bit of back and forth, like you won a small battle. But when it refuses to cooperate, it's a reminder that even the simplest tasks can test our patience. So here's to the light switch, the small rebel in our homes, keeping us on our toes one flick at a time. 33. The toaster's toasty temper. Toasters have moods, and I think mine is mostly grumpy. You put in the bread, set the timer, and then wait. Sometimes it pops up the toast perfectly golden. Other times it launches it like a rocket, sending crumbs everywhere. I told my kids, our toaster's temper depends on how it feels about bread that day. They said, it's just a toaster. Maybe. But it feels like it has preferences, rejecting the stale slices and rewarding the fresh ones. And the countdown beep, it's more like a shout. Your toast is ready. Eat it now. Toasters might be small kitchen appliances, but they remind us that even the most mundane tools have personality. And sometimes, when you're waiting for breakfast, that little burst of unpredictability keeps mornings interesting, if a bit crumbly. 34. The water bottle's secret life. Water bottles are deceptively simple. They hold water, sure, but they also hold stories. Mine is scratched up and dented, a testament to many adventures, commutes, hikes, and too many meetings. I told my daughter, this water bottle is my travel buddy. She asked, does it talk? I said, only in the form of condensation and clinks. Water bottles witness our everyday moments, from hurried sips in traffic jams to mindful gulps during workouts. They remind us to stay hydrated and sometimes to slow down. And when you finally empty one, it's like saying goodbye to a friend. You refill it and start again. Another chapter, another journey. So the next time you pick up your water bottle, think about all the quiet support it gives you. Liquid encouragement in a plastic or metal shell. 35. The chair that creaks in agreement. Every house has that one chair that creaks like it's sharing an opinion. You sit down and it groans, as if to say, are you sure about that? I told my wife, our chair is the family's unofficial commentator. She laughed, but it's true. The creaks come at the most inconvenient moments, like during a serious conversation or when you're sneaking a snack. It's almost like the chair is alive, quietly judging your choices, but never speaking up. And yet, it's always there to support you, no matter how many times you sit or stand. The creaking is its way of participating, of reminding us that even the furniture has a voice, albeit a creaky, slightly annoying one. So here's to the chair, the grumpy guardian of comfort, creaking in agreement or dissent as we go about our lives. 36. The remote control's hide and seek. The remote control is a master of hide and seek, especially when you need it the most. It's always there 1 minute, then mysteriously disappears between the couch cushions or under piles of newspapers. I told my kids, the remote has a secret life when we're not looking. They laughed, but think about it. How many times have you spent 5 minutes digging around just to find it staring back at you, like it was waiting for you to give up? It's like the remote wants to remind us who's really in charge of the TV, and when you finally hold it, there's a small victory dance in your mind. The remote control isn't just a gadget, it's a mischievous partner in our daily routines, always keeping us on our toes, testing our patience, and making sure we appreciate every moment of peace and entertainment. 37. The doorbell that never rings. When you want it, doorbells are supposed to announce guests with flair, but mine seems to have a personal vendetta against punctuality. Sometimes you're expecting someone standing right there, and the doorbell stays silent, like it's ignoring the whole event. I joked, my doorbell is an introvert. It only rings when it wants to. It's frustrating, but also kind of charming in its stubbornness. Then there's the opposite, a random ding at 3 a.m. that wakes you up with a start, only to find no one. It's as if the doorbell has mood swings. It might not be the most reliable messenger, but it's definitely memorable. So the next time your doorbell fails you, just remember, it's probably just waiting for the right moment, or maybe it's just having one of those days. 38. The pen that runs out of ink at the worst time. Pens have a way of betraying us when we least expect it. You're in the middle of writing something important, maybe a grocery list or a note, and suddenly the pen goes dry. I told my son, pens have perfect timing to quit. He nodded knowingly, having experienced the same frustration. It's like pens have a secret agenda wanting to keep us on our toes. You shake them, scribble harder, change angles. Nothing works. Then you're stuck, hunting for a backup, wondering why the one good pen is always empty. Pens are small but powerful tools of communication, and their sudden silence is a reminder that even the simplest things can surprise us. So next time your pen gives out, don't get mad. Just appreciate the drama it brings to your otherwise boring writing routine. 39. The fridge magnet. Philosopher fridge magnets are more than decoration. They're philosophers of the kitchen. They hold up your grocery lists, kids' drawings, and the occasional receipt with silent judgment. I joked, our fridge magnets are the wise elders of the house. Because really, they watch everything. The late-night snacking, the healthy meal plans that never happen, and the forgotten leftovers. Each magnet has a story. Some are souvenirs, others are silly jokes, and a few are just plain weird. But they all stick around, quietly reminding us of our daily habits and dreams. They don't say much, but their presence is constant. So next time you glance at your fridge, take a moment to appreciate the magnet philosophers, steady, silent, and always holding things together. 40. The chair cushion's secret mission. Chair cushions seem innocent enough, but they're actually on a secret mission to trap every crumb, dust mote, and mysterious fuzz in existence. I told my wife, our chair cushions are like vacuum cleaners in disguise. She smiled, agreeing that those cushions hide more than just comfort. Every time you sit down, you're unknowingly entering a crumb battlefield. They silently collect the remnants of meals past, the dropped popcorn kernels, and the occasional forgotten crumb from a long-gone snack. You never see the full extent of their work, but every so often, you'll find a treasure trove when you lift one up. Chair cushions are the unsung heroes of household messes, absorbing chaos while making sure you're comfortable. So here's to the chair cushion, a silent guardian of comfort and the secret keeper of all your crumbs. 41. The coffee mug's endless. Loyalty coffee mugs are some of the most loyal items we own. No matter how many times you rinse them out, drop them, or accidentally microwave them, they're still there, ready for that next cup. I told my son, mugs are like silent best friends. They're always ready when you need a pick-me-up. And they never complain, even when you fill them with something other than coffee, like tea or hot chocolate. They absorb the heat, the caffeine, and sometimes even your bad moods. Each stain inside tells a story, maybe a late night, a tough meeting, or a quiet moment alone. They're dependable, comforting, and surprisingly patient. So next time you sip from your favorite mug, remember you're sharing a moment with one of the most faithful companions in your kitchen. It's a relationship brewed with warmth and resilience, even if it's a little chipped around the edges. 42. The newspaper that never gets read. Newspapers often get delivered with the best intentions, but quickly become forgotten. I told my daughter, "Our newspaper is the world's most expensive doorstop. It starts off crisp and full of promise, but by the time you glance at the headlines, it's usually buried under mail, magazines, and junk. Sometimes it's folded and left untouched for days, its stories growing stale. But there's a certain charm to that stack of unread news, a reminder of the world beyond your door, waiting patiently to be noticed. It's like the newspaper is saying, 'I'm here if you want me.' And when you finally open it, it's a little adventure, a snapshot of a moment in time." Newspapers may seem outdated in the digital age, but they carry the nostalgic weight of slow, thoughtful reading, a pause in the rush of modern life. 43. The chair that squeaks on purpose. There's always that one chair in the house that squeaks at exactly the wrong moment, like when you're trying to be quiet or during a serious conversation. I told my wife, that chair is a secret mischief maker. It's almost as if it enjoys reminding everyone it's there, creaking and protesting with every shift in weight. No matter how many times you oil the joints or adjust your sitting position, it continues its noisy rebellion. It's a minor nuisance, but also a reliable companion that adds character to the room. The squeak becomes part of the soundtrack of home life, sometimes annoying, sometimes oddly comforting. It's a reminder that even inanimate objects have their own personality and can surprise us with their quirks. So next time you hear that squeaky chair, take a moment to appreciate its stubborn spirit and the small disruptions that make life interesting. 44. The pen cap that always gets lost. Pen caps have a sneaky way of disappearing. You're halfway through writing, you put the cap down for a second, and when you look back, it's gone. I told my son, pen caps are expert escape artists. They vanish into thin air, hiding in the crevices of desks, under papers, or behind furniture. Without the cap, the pen is exposed, vulnerable to drying out or making unintended marks. It's a small but critical part of the writing process, and losing it is like losing a tiny piece of your sanity. Searching for pen caps can become a mini treasure hunt, testing your patience and memory. Yet despite the frustration, pen caps keep popping up in the most unexpected places, reminding us that sometimes the little things cause the biggest headaches and the funniest moments. So, if you find a stray pen cap today, maybe give it a little nod for a job well done in its secret mission to hide. 45. The refrigerator light that only works. Sometimes, the refrigerator light is a mystery of modern appliances. You open the door expecting a warm glow to welcome you, but sometimes, especially in the dark, it refuses to come on. I told my wife, our fridge light is playing peekaboo. It's like it has a mind of its own, working perfectly one moment, then staying stubbornly dark the next. It's frustrating when you're searching for that midnight snack and the fridge feels like a black hole. But maybe the light is teaching us to slow down, to appreciate the quiet and darkness in a world that's usually bright and loud. The refrigerator light might not be the most reliable, but it certainly adds character to the kitchen experience. So next time you open your fridge, whether the light greets you or not, just remember, it's all part of the charm of home life's little quirks. 46. The sticky tape that loses its stickiness. Sticky tape starts off promising, ready to hold things together, fix torn papers, or wrap a present neatly. But as soon as you try to peel it off the roll, it loses its stickiness in all the wrong places. I told my daughter, sticky tape is the ultimate tease. You pull, it stretches, then it folds onto itself, becoming a tangled mess that refuses to cooperate. You end up cutting off half the roll just to get a piece usable enough to stick. It's like the tape knows your frustration and feeds off it. Yet we keep coming back, hoping that the next strip will be the perfect adhesive. Sticky tape might not win any awards for reliability, but it's a humble hero of craft rooms and offices, reminding us that sometimes even the simplest tools have complicated personalities. 47. The refrigerator door that always slams. The refrigerator door has a reputation for dramatic exits. No matter how gently you close it, sometimes it slams shut with a surprising force, startling everyone nearby. I told my son, our fridge door has a flair for the dramatic. It's like it wants to make sure you know it's done its job, sealing in the cold and locking out the heat. And if you're not careful, that slam can shake the whole kitchen. But maybe the door is just passionate about its role. It's a noisy reminder that even mundane household objects have a bit of character and attitude. So next time your fridge door slams, think of it as a shout of dedication, making sure your food stays fresh, one loud bang at a time. 48. The pen that writes only. When at once some pens have a mind of their own, you try to write something important and suddenly the pen refuses to cooperate. I told my wife, this pen is like a moody artist. It only works when inspired. You press down, wiggle it around, and it finally scribbles a faint line before going silent again. You switch hands, scribble on scrap paper, and maybe, just maybe, it agrees to cooperate. But then the ink runs dry, or the pen mysteriously skips letters. It's frustrating, but also oddly amusing, like the pen is playing a prank on you. These pens remind us that even everyday objects have quirks, and sometimes patience is the key to getting anything done. So next time your pen misbehaves, just smile, and remember, it's all part of the writing adventure. 49. The car key that plays hide and seek. Car keys are notorious for vanishing when you're in a hurry. You check your pockets, your bag, the kitchen counter, but no keys. I told my son, car keys must have a secret talent for disappearing. They slip into couch cushions, hide under papers, or sometimes seem to teleport just when you need them. Searching for keys becomes a daily ritual, part frustration, part mystery. And when you finally find them, there's a small celebration, like you've won a mini treasure hunt. Car keys are tiny but powerful, holding the power to freedom or frustration depending on their mood. So next time your keys go missing, don't panic. Think of it as your keys taking a little break before the next adventure. 50. The lamp that flickers like it's trying to send a message. Lamps sometimes have a dramatic flare, flickering on and off like they're trying to communicate something mysterious. I told my daughter, that lamp is definitely trying to send a secret message. It flickers when the bulb's nearing its end or when there's a loose connection, but it feels like more than that, like it's alive, reminding you that not everything in life is steady and predictable. The flicker interrupts quiet moments, making you pause and look around just in case. It's a small, eerie reminder that even the simplest objects can surprise us. So, whether the lamp is warning you about a bulb change or just craving attention, its flicker adds a little drama to the everyday. 51. The umbrella that only opens. In theory, umbrellas are supposed to protect us from rain, but some seem to have a mind of their own when it comes to opening. I told my son, our umbrella is a reluctant warrior. It only opens when it feels like it. You push the button, pull the handle, and sometimes it snaps open perfectly, ready to shield you from the storm. Other times, it refuses to cooperate, half opening or getting stuck in weird angles, like it's testing your patience. When the wind picks up, it turns inside out, as if saying, not today, rain. Despite its quirks, the umbrella stays loyal, keeping you mostly dry and occasionally soaking wet. It's a reminder that even the simplest tools have moods and personalities, and sometimes you have to work with them, not against them. So next time you wrestle with your umbrella, just remember, it's not just a rain shield. it's a character in your weather adventures. 52. The light bulb that burns out. Too soon, light bulbs have a curious lifespan. You install a new bulb expecting bright, steady light, and then, bam, it burns out way too soon. I told my wife, light bulbs have secret plans to keep us buying more. It's like they have a countdown timer set to surprise you at the worst moment, like during a late-night snack or right before a movie. You replace them, hoping the new one will be a champion, but the cycle repeats. Light bulbs are small, bright, and unpredictable, reminding us that even the brightest things can flicker out unexpectedly. They teach patience, preparedness, and sometimes frustration. So when your bulb burns out, don't just see it as a nuisance, see it as a reminder that light, like life, is precious and sometimes fleeting. 53. The keys that jingle. Like they're in a band, keys jingling in your pocket sound like a tiny band rehearsing their song. I told my kids, our keys have a rock star complex. Every time you move, the keys perform a little concert, jingling, clinking, and sometimes rattling as if demanding attention. It's funny how such a small collection of metal pieces can create so much noise, especially in quiet places. Keys are practical and essential, but their constant jingling is a reminder that even the most ordinary things bring a bit of rhythm to life. Whether you love the sound or find it annoying, keys definitely make sure you know they're there, adding a soundtrack to your daily movements. So next time you hear your keys jingle, just imagine your own personal band on tour. 54. The shower curtain that won't stay. Put shower curtains have a tricky job, keeping water in while letting you move freely. But some seem to have a personal vendetta against staying in place. I told my daughter, our shower curtain is a rebellious artist. It loves to dance. Every time you step in, it billows and moves like it's alive, sometimes clinging to you or flying away, letting water splash out. It's a constant battle of wills between you and the curtain, trying to keep the bathroom dry without losing your temper. Shower curtains might be flimsy, but they're full of personality and drama, reminding us that even the smallest things can keep life interesting. So if your shower curtain won't behave, just enjoy the dance. It's part of the morning routine's charm. 55. The old phone charger that barely works. Old phone chargers are the ultimate survivors. They've been through years of plugging, unplugging, twisting, and bending, and yet they barely keep up. I told my son, this charger is a veteran. It's seen better days, but refuses to quit. Sometimes it works perfectly. Other times it takes a bit of coaxing, twisting just right, or holding at a weird angle to get the connection. It's frustrating, but also kind of impressive, like a stubborn old friend who's still trying their best. Chargers remind us of the value of persistence and patience. They might not be shiny and new, but they keep things running, even if it's a slow, bumpy process. So next time your charger struggles, give it credit for sticking around, quietly powering your devices and your life. 56. The thermostat that pretends. It's a weather forecaster. Thermostats think they're weather forecasters. You set the temperature just right, but they seem to have their own opinions on what comfortable means. I told my wife, our thermostat is an overachiever. It likes to surprise us. One day it's freezing cold, the next it's a bit too warm, as if it's testing how adaptable we really are. You fiddle with the settings only to find the perfect balance is elusive, like chasing a mythical comfort zone. It's almost as if the thermostat enjoys keeping us guessing, reminding us that even technology has moods. It's a tiny device with a big personality, quietly influencing how we feel without ever asking for thanks. So when you argue with your thermostat, remember, it's just trying to keep life interesting, 1 degree at a time. 57. The blender that sounds like a jet engine. Blenders don't just mix ingredients, they announce themselves with the volume of a jet engine. I told my kids our blender could probably take off if it wanted. It roars and vibrates, shaking the countertop as it pulverizes fruits, veggies, or ice. You have to shout over the noise to hear anything else, and the dog usually hides. But the blender doesn't mind. It's proud of its power and performance. It's like having a tiny storm in your kitchen every time you make a smoothie. Despite the noise, it's a trusty tool that turns chaos into deliciousness. So next time you hear that roar, remember the blender is just showing off its strength, mixing up good times with a little bit of drama. 58. The clock that runs late for everything. Clocks are supposed to keep us on schedule, but some seem to have their own concept of time. I told my daughter, "Our clock is a procrastinator. It's always running late." You glance at it for the time, only to realize it's a few minutes behind, making you question whether you're early or late. Adjusting it feels like a losing battle. No matter what, it always drags its feet. It's almost comforting in a way, reminding us that time isn't always exact and sometimes life needs a little wiggle room. That clock might not be punctual, but it keeps ticking through the chaos, teaching us patience and flexibility. So when you see that clock running late, smile. It's just giving you a gentle nudge to slow down. 59. The keychain that holds everything. Except keys. Keychains have a habit of accumulating everything but keys. I told my son, our keychain is more like a treasure chest of junk. You find random coins, old receipts, tiny toys, and mystery buttons attached along with your actual keys. It's a cluttered mess that somehow still holds the essentials, proving that chaos and order can coexist. Sometimes it jingles so much you can hear it across the room, announcing your arrival with a symphony of metal and plastic. That keychain is a reflection of life itself, messy, unpredictable, but functional. So next time you look at your keychain, appreciate the little collection of life's extras it carries along for the ride. 60. The old sweater that never leaves the closet. Old sweaters are the comfort champions of the closet. I told my wife, that sweater is like a warm hug you can wear. It's stretched out, maybe a little faded, and definitely not trendy, but it's the first thing you reach for on chilly days. It holds memories of cozy nights, lazy Sundays, and moments when comfort mattered more than style. No matter how many new clothes come and go, that sweater stays, loyal and dependable. It's a reminder that sometimes the best things in life aren't shiny or new, but well-worn and full of history. So next time you pull on your old sweater, savor the warmth and nostalgia it brings. It's more than just fabric, it's a piece of your story. 61. The paperclip that holds everything. Except paperclips are masters of improvisation. I told my daughter, paperclips are the ultimate multitaskers. You expect them to hold sheets of paper together, but they quickly become the go-to fix for everything else. Bookmarks, makeshift hooks, tiny clamps, or even emergency zipper pulls. Despite their small size and simple design, paperclips have an incredible knack for solving problems you didn't even know you had. They're flexible, durable, and sometimes bend out of shape, but always ready for action. It's like they have a secret life beyond the office desk, quietly saving the day in unexpected ways. So next time you spot a lone paperclip, remember it's more than a piece of bent wire. It's a little hero of everyday life, holding things together in more ways than one. 62. The doorbell that rings at the worst times. Doorbells have impeccable timing, if by impeccable you mean terrible timing. I told my son, our doorbell has a sixth sense for chaos. Just when you settle in with a book or hit a perfect nap, the doorbell rings, shattering the silence and your peace of mind. It's loud, insistent, and impossible to ignore, demanding immediate attention. Sometimes you wish it would take a break or work on a schedule, but no, it's on call 24/7, ready to announce visitors, deliveries, or sometimes just the neighbor's kids. That annoying chime reminds us that life is unpredictable and interruptions are part of the game. So when your doorbell rings at the worst possible moment, don't grumble. Think of it as life knocking, insisting you stay connected. 63. The coffee maker that has its own mood swings. Coffee makers are supposed to start your day smoothly, but some have personalities that rival toddlers. I told my wife, our coffee maker is moody, it works on its own schedule. Some mornings it brews a perfect cup without a hitch, filling the kitchen with rich aroma and promise. Other days it sputters, gurgles, or refuses to start until you've begged it a few times. It's like it knows how much you need caffeine and wants to make you work for it. Despite the frustration, the coffee maker is a vital morning companion, reminding us that even machines have quirks. So next time your coffee maker throws a tantrum, just laugh and remember it's all part of the ritual that wakes us up. 64. The remote control that disappears into thin air. Remote controls have a supernatural talent for vanishing when you need them most. I told my kids, remotes are professional hide-and-seek champions. You swear you just put it down 5 minutes ago, but now it's gone, lost between couch cushions, under furniture, or mysteriously transported to another room. Searching for the remote becomes a mini quest, often involving flipping cushions and scanning tables like a detective. The remote controls the TV, your music, and sometimes your sanity, so losing it feels like losing the keys to the kingdom. But despite the inconvenience, the remote reminds us to slow down and pay attention to the little things. So next time your remote disappears, don't panic, just enjoy the treasure hunt. 65. The chair that creaks like it's complaining. Some chairs have a way of creaking loudly every time you sit down or shift your weight. I told my wife, that chair is a drama queen. It sounds like it's complaining about the day's work or protesting every movement, making quiet moments a bit noisy. No amount of oiling or adjusting seems to fix the creak, and it always happens at the worst possible time, during a serious conversation or when you're trying to be discreet. That chair's creak adds a soundtrack to life's everyday moments, reminding us that even objects have personalities and moods. It's a small annoyance, sure, but also a comforting presence that marks the rhythm of home life. So next time you hear that creak, think of it as your chair's way of saying, I'm still here and I care. 66. The sock that always loses its pair socks have a sneaky habit of going missing, like they have a secret life outside the laundry. I told my daughter, that sock is a great escape artist. You put a pair in the washing machine, but when you pull them out, one sock has vanished into thin air. Where do they go? Nobody really knows. It's like socks are magnets for disappearing acts, leaving behind lonely singles in drawers. You find mismatched pairs everywhere, or sometimes just one stubborn sock that refuses to be reunited. They teach us patience and the mysterious art of accepting loss, because no matter how hard you search, that missing sock is probably off on its own adventure. So next time you lose a sock, don't stress. Just imagine it's having fun somewhere and appreciate the ones that stayed loyal. 67. The pencil that breaks at the worst moment. Pencils are simple tools, but they have a knack for breaking exactly when you need them most. I told my son, that pencil is a drama queen. You're in the middle of writing an important note or drawing a masterpiece, and snap, the tip breaks clean off. You try to sharpen it quickly, only to find the sharpener dull or the pencil too short. It's a tiny inconvenience, but one that feels like the universe's way of saying, not so fast. Pencils remind us that even the smallest interruptions can derail plans, and that sometimes patience is key. So next time your pencil snaps, just smile, and remember, it's a classic dad joke moment in the making. 68. The chair that squeaks. Loud enough to startle. Some chairs have a dramatic flair, squeaking loudly at every shift and move. I told my wife, that chair has a hidden soundtrack. Every time you sit down or adjust your position, it lets out a loud squeak that echoes through the room. You try to ignore it, but the noise demands attention, making quiet moments a bit less quiet. The chair's squeak is a reminder that even the simplest furniture can have personality and a voice of its own. It's a bit annoying, but also oddly charming, like a familiar old friend reminding you it's still around. So when you hear that squeak, don't get frustrated. Think of it as your chair's way of joining the conversation. 69. The bag that's always two full bags have a funny way of filling up quickly, no matter how big they are. I told my daughter, that bag has a black hole inside. You start packing for a trip, thinking you only need a few things, but somehow the bag overflows with clothes, gadgets, and random stuff. It bulges at the seams and gets heavier with every added item, yet you keep trying to zip it closed. The bag tests your packing skills and patience, reminding you that sometimes you carry more than you planned, both physically and metaphorically. It's a small challenge that adds a bit of fun to travel preparation and daily life. So next time your bag feels too full, just smile and accept that a little chaos is part of the journey. 70. The pen that runs out of ink, right when you need it. Pens have impeccable timing, especially when it comes to running out of ink. I told my son, that pen is a master of suspense. You're signing something important or jotting down a note, and suddenly the ink vanishes mid-stroke. You shake it, scribble on scrap paper, but no luck, it's dry. Searching for another pen becomes an unexpected quest, interrupting your flow and making you wonder why pens don't come with a fuel gauge. It's a tiny frustration that reminds us to be prepared and maybe keep a backup nearby. So next time your pen runs dry at the worst moment, just laugh. It's classic dad joke timing and part of life's little surprises.